Principles of Resource Economics, Section 2, Resource, Supply, and Scarcity. In this section, we will cover the following topics: ecosystem structure and processes, ecosystem functions, ecosystem services, scarcity and classification of environmental resources, fellow resource supply, fund resource supply, scarcity viewpoint or philosophies, measuring resource scarcity. In this video, we will review some background and energy concepts, define open and closed system and ecosphere, explain the effect of solar energy, level of organization, and ecoregion, review the components and processes within ecosystem. By the end of this video, a student will be able to mention and explain these concepts. To better understand the ecosystem structure and processes, we start by reviewing some background and energy concepts. The first law of thermodynamics tells us that energy is neither created nor destroyed by any physical or chemical process. It is merely transformed from one form of energy to another. For example, energy in a system such as a campus, we show that with letter B. Energy that inputs into the system would be A, and the output energy would be C. The total of these energies stays constant. The second law of thermodynamics says that any system plus its surrounding tends spontaneously toward disorder or randomness. Entropy used as a measure of relative randomness. A disorderly system has high entropy, while an orderly system has a low entropy. The second law can therefore be restated as any system plus its surroundings tends spontaneously toward increasing entropy or disorder. Let's define open and closed systems. In an open system, both matter and energy are exchanged between the system and its surroundings. For example, in this system, we see that the cold, food, and other supply, such as sunlight and rain, are inputs into the system. And we have wastes that are outputs. These wastes includes matter and energy. Why is this an open system? Because we have outputs which are both matter and energy. For example, we have food and fiber as an output of this system. A lake also is an open system. In this system, we have sediments and organic matters as input plus sunlight and rain, and we have evaporated water as output. So in this system, output is a matter. As a result, it is an open system. In closed system, energy, but not matter, is exchanged between the system and its surroundings. For example, artificial ecosphere, in which sunlight is input and heat is output. In this system, the output is an energy. There is no matter as an output in this system, so it is a closed system. A real-world example of closed system is Earth, in which solar energy is input and waste heat is output. Earth is divided into three major spherical layers: its atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere. Life occurs in only a portion of these three spheres. This system called the ecosphere makes up the life support system for our planet. A large decrease or increase in solar energy reaching the Earth could significantly impact the ecosphere. In what ways? It could affect the solar flares, global warming, and global cooling. Earth's environment is a closed system. The source of external energy which powers the Earth's environment is the sun, which provides solar radiation, ultimate source of energy for all life. There is a balance in global energy. Always incoming solar radiation is equal to incoming solar radiation reflected by clouds, dust, and air surface plus waste heat. In the previous video, we learned the definition of ecosystem. In this video, we talk about the levels of organization. First, organism. Individual living or being. Single cell, organism, plant, animal, or a person. B. Population. Group of individual organisms of the same kind, such as herd of cattle, flock of birds, and so on. C. Natural community. Group of plant and animal populations occupying and functioning in a given area. Then we have ecosystem. Natural communities combined with non-living components of the environment. Ecosphere. Different ecosystems across the planet combine to form an ecosphere. An ecoregion. Ecosystem of the same type in a geographical area. This map shows the ecoregions of the United States and provinces. Different colors shows the humid temperature domain, hot continental division, central Appalachian forest province, eastern broadleaf forest province, subtropical divisions, southeastern mixed forest province, and outer coastal plain mixed forest province. This map is commonly called Bailey's ecoregion and shows ecosystem of the regional extent in the United States, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands based on condition in 1994. It includes domains, divisions, provinces, and sections. What are the ecosystem components? Abiotic components, which are non-living without life. For example, energy, chemical, inorganic or organic. Physical factors, such as temperature, light, wind, humidity, and currents. The second components are biotic components. They are living with life. We can break down them into producers, plant life, some type of bacteria which use solar energy to manufacture food from simple inorganic substances through photosynthesis, and microconsumers, bacteria, fungi, and some protozoa that break down the complex compound in dead animals and plants, releasing chemical for reuse by producers. The third section of biotic components are macro-consumers, organisms that cannot manufacture their own food and therefore must consume the organic compounds found in plants and animals. Primary macro-consumers are herbivorous, plant eater. The secondary macro-consumers are carnivorous, meat eaters, and omnivorous, plant and meat eaters. What are major limiting factors in ecosystems? Whether or not a plant or animal species can survive in an ecosystem is often determined by presence or absence of some critical limiting factor or factors. For example, in terrestrial ecosystem, major limiting factors are climate and soil. Climate is a long-range average pattern of animal quality and quantity of seasonal distribution of light, temperature, precipitation, and humidity. Day-to-day variation in these factors called weather. Soil, dynamic multiple component body, which provides a medium for plants and animal growths. Next part is ecosystem processes. Two basic processes in any ecosystems are one-way flow of energy and chemical cycling. An example is carbon cycle. Carbon cycle is the basic building block of carbohydrates. Carbon makes only less than 1% of the atmosphere. The largest storage of carbon is in sedimentary rocks. People influence the carbon cycle by burning woods, driving cars, and running factories. The next cycle is oxygen cycle. The largest reservoir of Earth's oxygen is within the silicate and oxide minerals of the crust and mantle. Free oxygen makes up about 21% of atmosphere. The main source of atmosphere-free oxygen is photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide plus water and sugar makes energy sugars and oxygen. People influence the oxygen cycle by removing and planting trees and other vegetations. Then we have nitrogen cycle. In nitrogen cycle, nitrogen fixation happens in which bacteria converts nitrogen to ammonia. Nitrification in which ammonia is converted to nitrate ions. And assimilation, plant roots absorbs inorganic ammonia. During ammonification, the composers converts compound nitrogen into simpler molecules. Denitrification converts the new nitrogen into nitrates. Nitrogen released from terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems makes up about 78% of the atmosphere. People influence nitrogen cycle through fertilizer applications. Another important cycle is phosphorus cycle. In sedimentary cycle, phosphorus moves slowly from phosphate deposits on land in shallow ocean sediments to living organisms and back into the ocean and land. People add phosphates to groundwater and surface water from leaching, discharge, and runoff of human waste, animal waste, commercial nitrate fertilizer from cropland, lawns, and golf courses. Sulfur cycle is also important. Much of the Earth's sulfur is tied up in underground rocks and is primarily released through geological activity. It is then used by plants and animals alike to be redecomposed back into the ground. However, 1/3 of all sulfur release is from human activity. The last but not the least cycle is water cycle. Water cycle or hydrologic cycle. People intervene with the water cycle in many ways. We withdraw water, we clear land which increases runoff, and we modify water quality. In the next video, we will learn about the functions of ecosystem.